Okay, to start out, I just want to say prepare to transform with my guest today, Tracy McDonough. She is the owner operator of Healing Moments, a wellness boutique in Boca Raton, Florida. But for those of you listening from far away from Boca, you should know that Tracy works with clients virtually as well. She has a master's degree in clinical social work, is a graduate of Florida College of Natural Health. She's a licensed massage therapist, certified in vibroacoustic sound therapy, detox wellness, Reiki, and meditation, to name a few. And at Healing Moments, Tracy really is a magician in that she blends traditional and ancient therapies together for mind, body, spirit, healing, balance. So welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything?
It was good.
I know that you're also studying quantum, things, but I didn't want to touch that because I figured you could explain better than me.
I'm actually in a doctorate and PhD program for integrative medicine, but all new medicine based on quantum physics.
I
So,
love that. I can't wait to learn more about it as we talk today.
yeah.
So, you know me, I am a sucker for a good story. I love to hear people's stories, and I thought I would start off by sharing with listeners what pivotal thing happened with you in your life. I mean, I know you had a life before you were into, having healing moments, but something happened that sort of turned you to owning a healing center. So, could you tell us a little bit about that story?
It's really a progression of many things. I was in the nightclub business and I did get hit by a man who had a heart attack on the turnpike, hit me head on doing 80 miles an hour and literally shattered every bone in my foot. And the one thing that I needed to be able to go to work with was my foot. If it was my arm or something else, it would have been different. I actually had to lay on a couch for 5 weeks. And I truly believe that spirit, God, universe was saying, let me introduce you to Tracy. I had a very busy life from young. I married a man who had kids and a business, and I got very busy raising kids at a really young age. So working 15 hours a day, raising 5 kids, all the things, taking care of other kids, and I just didn't really even know who I was. So that led me to meditation because I had to lay on the couch for 5 weeks.
Wow.
So I started reading Marianne Williamson and Wayne Dyer and Deepak and all the people, and really starting to get to know, who I am. When I was a child, my mother said I used to walk up to strangers and just put my hands around their head and close my eyes. I would climb up on those benches that they had in front of supermarkets. And she said, you'd close your eyes and put your forehead on their forehead. And you would just stay there for the longest time for a 2-year-old. And then you would literally open your eyes right in their face and go, do you feel better?
Wow.
So I think I had a path and a purpose, and I just got off track and I was kind of geared towards. So never really thought that I would stay in this business. I went to massage school while I was still in a boot because I was having massages because I was laying on a couch for 5 weeks and I was in a cast for months. And I had friends that were Reiki healers that started working on me. So I certified in Reiki and I went to massage school. And as soon as the boot came off, I went back to the restaurant business for about a year.
Mm.
And the man I was working with decided to sell. And I thought, I have a massage license. Let's see what they're doing. And it was kind of like a slow season. And I had an interview at a country club that did not have a massage room set up. So I helped them build out the massage room and I certified as a personal trainer so I could work in their gym, get to know people. And I thought, I'll do this for a few months and then go back to my real life. And 14 years later, I was still there.
Wow.
A
Wow.
lot of all my clients, 800, all 800 of my clients, and they were all over the age of 65 or 70.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So you're in the nightclub business. You're obviously on your feet all the time. You're probably that go, go, go. You've got family, you're busy, busy, busy. And then there's this redirect that happens. It happens to be pretty traumatic. And, what I find interesting too about that story, the way you told it to me this time, because I knew a little bit of it before, is it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like a switch and just a turn and a pivot. There were layers there that, like you said, you had to lay there, you were forced to lay there, you did, introduced to meditation, and then transitioning kind of took a little space, a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. And I fought it because I have that peaceful side to me. People that know me think you're so peaceful and so calm, but I'm also an Irish New Yorker that came from a party family, so that nightclub business. But truthfully, what it boils down to is I really love people. And it
Mm,
didn't matter if I was managing the restaurant or working behind the bar or doing personal training or doing massage. I'm affecting people, like I am working with people.
right.
And I think that's really what the core of it is. I just love people and I love it when people feel good.
Yeah, yeah. I love it when people feel good too. It's such a good feeling to help someone get to a better place than when you first met them. So when you have a trauma, that word gets used a lot nowadays in certain circles, maybe not for everybody, but you hear trauma a lot. And some of it's physical, like sometimes it can be physical, like you mentioned the car accident that you had, pretty intense.
Sure. Yeah.
But then there's other traumas too that are more emotional and things. And I mean, I don't know, just thinking out loud now here, do you think we all have trauma?
I think we do. I think we have certain events in our life that are traumatic just by living, right? But then there are the extraordinary events that create. And, unfortunately, in the old days, parents would stay home with their children. Usually moms would stay home and there was a lot of activity and a lot going on and people were nurtured more. In our life, it's just super stressful. We have parents that work, babysitters that I grew up with babysitters. My parents got divorced when I was very, very young, and I grew up with babysitters, and I could see that there was some trauma there because my mom didn't have a lot of time in the 60s to vet babysitters and go to work and take care of all the things, right?
Right.
So, and trauma comes in different degrees, and it really depends on the personality.
Yeah.
Like I've been through major things in my life that have created this culture that I live in, right? That have helped me create the person that I am. Some of the things that I've been through, someone else may not have survived. And I've been told that many times. So it really is different levels of degree. Like what is your capacity to be able to deal with things?
Right.
And how is it's really, like PTSD, that's a brain thing
Mm,
and a nervous system thing,
very
right?
much.
So, yes, there is physical trauma, like the car accident, right? I could have been a person that would never get on the highway again, right?
Yeah.
There is emotional trauma. There's breakups or divorces. I used to do counseling groups in Palm Beach County schools for kindergarten and first graders through the Fox Center.
Mm,
And one of my groups, one of my 5-year-old groups, all those kids were going through divorce. And,
wow.
divorce is not a husband and wife thing, it's a family thing. And there's a lot of trauma there because they don't really understand what's going on. Most
Mm,
parents don't do well at explaining because they're in their own emotional upheaval.
right.
And later on, that can cause panic attacks, anxiety, fears, isolation, feeling not good enough, which, can create a whole other kind of problem in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
all trauma.
All trauma. Yes. And like you said, just the experience of living, you're going to have these types of emotional roller coaster up and down moments that could create a trauma. So then, and you kind of touched on it already, but maybe you could expand a little bit on how these traumas of the variety of kinds of traumas can impact our overall health.
Well, it really depends on what's going on. So I have a client right now who had an experience about 5 years ago, which resulted in her having breast cancer on one side of her body. The trauma part of it has not been healed.
Mm,
So ultimately, what's happening now is she's developing problems on the other side. So
mm,
when people come to me, yeah, yes, I want to deal with the problem at hand, right? What do we have to do for your physical body? We have to detox, we have to do all the things, right? But I want to know what was happening in your life when this started.
right.
And her story was that she lost a parent who had a very hard time, whose spouse had a very hard time. And ultimately, a year later, she lost that parent too,
Wow.
to an event, to like a car accident, not something natural. And that has never been healed. So
Mm.
that's a trauma that's creating a physical symptom, right? It started as emotional. You know, we develop things in layers. Energy first, our biofield, right? Things happen in our field long before they actually happen to our physical body, and we can actually see that and measure that. Then it's emotional, then it or psychological, then emotional, and then ultimately physical. And that's what happened to her over time. She actually developed that hurt, that trauma actually developed as a physical symptom in her body.
Wow.
It's extreme. Cancer is extreme, but you know, it could be panic attacks. That's easy, not easy to deal with either. It could be eating disorders. People start to layer on weight for protection. You know, it can show up in so many different ways.
That's so true. Yeah. So, and it's such a overlooked part. We're so focused as a society, as a culture, on the physical body alone, and not the integrated version of who we are as human beings. So, I think that's a great point to raise awareness around that. Is that if you have a physical thing going on, yes, you need to address that physically, but there's also other layers, or you could have a reoccurrence.
Right. Right. So people come to me injured in one way or another. Some people come to me broken, right? So there's always the physical aspect, right? It doesn't matter what it is, right? It could be pain, it could be gut issues, it could be, oh, my back, I get headaches, I get migraines. There's always the physical component. Then there's the emotional component. There's fearful, there's stressed, there's angry, there's depressed, there's impatient, there's worry, right? And then there's a spiritual connection, right? There's some spiritual thing that I feel lost, I feel disconnected, I don't feel good enough, I'm not loved, I'm loved, but something is missing. So my goal is to work on helping people become whole, right?
Mm.
For more impact. Because certainly if you come in with a backache, I can work on that. But if your back aches, chances are you're in a crappy mood. You may have a headache. You know, there's other things going on, and I can work on your back and you can leave, and temporarily your back might feel better, but we haven't addressed all the other things. So
Right.
that's my goal here. My goal here is to really create impact, and sometimes we can't really affect the situation that's happening at the moment in your life directly, but we can affect the person that you are in the situation, the
Mm.
perspective that you bring, right? If I can sit with people and help them feel heard and help their nervous system relax, now they're not the same person in that problem, which means once you change the inside, the outside starts to change too, whether it actually changes or your view of it actually changes. There is
Yeah.
some change.
Yes, yes. Ooh, I like that. And I can relate to so much of it, as I'm sure other people who hear this will, having, variety of different experiences in life. But you said um, a key thing earlier about, just, of a client. And I wanted to make sure I asked you that because as, we worked together, for those of you who don't know, I worked with Tracy on some marketing efforts, and I got to be firsthand witness to about 9 different people who showed up to talk about their experience in working with Tracy and how they had just so many good things to say. So I wondered, since a story is worth so much to people, maybe you could share a story anonymously, of course, about a client of yours that walked in with some challenges and worked with you and really had a transformation go on.
There's so many, and some of them are complex and some of them are very simple. I think one of my favorite is one of my coaching clients. She came in, I had a special going on. It was like $5,000 for 3 months or something like that. And she's local, so I was able to implement some services for her. But she came in, and one of her biggest problems, and there were other things that either contributed to this or maybe as a result of this, but one of her biggest things is she was waking up in the middle of the night in sheer panic. She just could not get a handle on it. She didn't know why. She didn't have anything obvious that was on her mind, but she would wake up and get into this severe panic. Now, physically, obviously, there's some cortisol things happening there. And I think she was in a little bit of adrenal fatigue. But
Mm.
I, had some services that I did with her, but I taught her how to do tapping. I taught
Ah,
her how to do EFT, emotional
yeah.
freedom technique.
Love it.
And literally in a week, they stopped and she stopped coming. I run into
Wow.
her. I text her, come on, let's follow up. She paid me. I want to like help her. But she went back into her life. We took care of her main problem. It's not typically how I like to work, right? I want people to make an investment and benefit have all the benefits, right? Because there's other things her and I could have worked on. But this was her, when I start to work with people, I want to know, what are the real pressing things that we need to start with? And, it could be anything. It could be weight. It could be anything. For her, it was this. And literally in a week, it was gone. And her husband was like, can Tracy move in with us?
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, I mean, and that just kind of speaks to a few things. Like we are programmed in our mind we have this acute problem, we solve the acute problem, okay, done. But there could be, more than likely, there is a lot of other layers to address to really overcome that so that you can show up in a different way. Like you said, your perspective changes. You really do become a different person when you kind of uncover different things that are unseen and resolve those challenges emotionally, physically, spiritually.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and, that's the biggest challenge in this holistic wellness space, right? I've been doing holistic wellness for 25 years. And the biggest challenge is people don't show up until they're either very sick or at their wits' end,
Right.
and they don't stay once they start to feel better.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to do prevention than symptomology, right? I prefer to do prevention than have to work on people when they're at that state. But then when they're at that state, it doesn't take me very long to break that state. But then I don't see them. It's like it's not urgent. And it's brainwashing, it's programming, it's how we have learned to live our lives. I have people that I run into and people will introduce me. Oh, Tracy does energy healing. She does massage. She does coaching. She's a clinical therapist. She's a detox therapist. Oh, my back doesn't hurt. I'm fine right now, but it's good to know where you are. Like, why do we have to wait till something goes wrong? Why can't we start working on things preventively? A lot of my services are minimal cost and very enjoyable and
Yes.
have a huge impact in the nervous system and how your body functions.
Right.
And it's so amazing. It's funny. A lot of the people that do come consistently are young, like the
Wow.
younger
You're right.
generation, especially like the yogis, like they get it.
Yeah.
They get it and they'll come. But even them, once they get a job that has too much demands or they're in a relationship or, maybe they have a child or something, we fall back into that. We are so programmed to not look for help until we actually need it. And I am trying to change that paradigm and teach people that if you do some of this stuff,
Yeah.
you may never need it.
Right. Oh, that's so my jam, Tracy. Like, I mean, I just love that. First of all, the mindset is everything, right? Like you can be like the most quote unquote holistic person, but if you're still doing a pill for every ill, then you're really not, embodying the whole thing. And it's hard. I mean, it's not like this is easy, right? That we have so many demands on our daily life. It can be hard to prioritize things that I think often the bigger picture, people look at it like, oh, must be nice for you to be able to get a massage or something like that, but it's actually really critical to your overall health. And that was something I was going to ask you too, is when it comes to, let's say, massage, for an example, since I brought that up, you know, how do we change the mindset around it's not just to relax, but this is for your well-being. This is for longevity. This like doing body work, whether it's massage or some other kind of body work or meditation. This is for longevity, for quality of life.
Right. Sure. So with massage, the number one benefit for body work, that kind of body work, massage is circulation, right? Circulation is life.
Yes.
when our circulation starts to slow down, and we see it in elderly, that's when they start to get things like neuropathy. They have, they lose a lot of muscle, their legs get weak, right? A lot of that has to do with circulation and really pumping blood through the muscle. That's why exercise and walking is so great, for people. But physically, that's what people get. Okay. I don't do deep tissue, beat you up kind of work. I feel like the minute your body feels pain, you go into sympathetic nervous system, which means that you are running away from a tiger. And when your body is getting ready to run away from a tiger, there's no healing happening. There's
Mm.
no digestion happening. The immune system goes down because your body's ready to run, fight, or hide.
Yeah.
So I do healing massages, and yes, of course, you're going to get the benefit of the physical work. But the other part of that is actually taking a little bit of time to breathe and calm your nervous system, because the nervous system runs the show. When you are in fight or flight, even if you're just in your daily day, 80% of the people walking around live in fight or flight, which is why so many people have gut issues, which is why so many people suffer from headaches and migraines. And all the different imbalances in the body have a lot to do with the nervous system being on all the time, right? We talked about adrenal fatigue, cortisol levels, people waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to sleep because everything is just so out of balance. So getting a massage, you're taking the time to breathe and relax for a
Hmm.
little while. At the same time, you're getting more circulation, which is more oxygen utilization, more blood flow to the muscles, to the organs, more waste out. I do a lot of lymphatic work. So, trying to move that sewer system of ours, because we have a lot of people that walk around with very congested sewer systems due to stress, diet, whatever it
Right.
is, injury.
Environmental toxins. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're exposed to so much.
So much.
So massage will do a lot of that,
A
right?
lot of that. Yeah, it's a lot more than relaxation. It's for overall health and wellness. And you mentioned lymph massage, and that's something I was always curious about. I mean, I've heard a little bit about lymph, that it's so important, like you said, to move it, especially if you're sedentary or if you've been sick for a while. That can be hard because you're inactive and then you're not moving your lymph system. It's like a vicious cycle. But when they do lymphs, what I've heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is lymph is very gentle, very light touch, and some people feel like they're not satisfied with that. But what would you say to that mentality?
I think people are starting to be a little more educated, but I show people pictures of the lymphatic system. Our lymphatic system is our biggest system internally. It's directly connected to our circulatory system. It's our sewer system. It carries waste through our body. There's no pump, which is why lymphatic drainage is such a thing, right? Because the heart and microcirculation pumps blood through the body, but lymph is moved through the body through tissue movement. That's why rebounding is so good, right? So you're rebounding, you're going, because gravity takes things down, right? So it's pushing things up, it's opening and closing those lymph nodes, and through like this peristalsis movement, helping to flush your system. But lymph is right under the skin. So when people come, I always try to explain, because if they don't know what it is, they'll be like, what are you doing? It's
Right.
very gentle movement of fluid and lymph through your body to the lymph nodes. We do a little manipulation of the lymph node areas to make sure that there's draining. And it helps to keep us healthy. It's directly related to our immune system.
Mm, yes, very critically important to move the lymph. And now I'm going to definitely have to use my rebounder more. I do have one.
I don't I don't suggest that to a lot of people, because
Okay.
there's other reasons, balance, all kinds of things, ways people can get hurt. I have a power plate here, and
Oh,
the power plate does this, which is good if you don't have any major back issues. But even just getting up on your toes and dropping onto your heels creates a little bit of that movement. Women specifically, we wear bras that are too tight, clothes that are too tight, and we
right.
don't lift our arms. Like, I don't, you're younger than me, but I remember Jack LaLanne. And
Yeah, my mom loves Jack
I
LaLanne.
believe Jack LaLanne was probably one of the most brilliant lymphatic specialists. He either innately knew it and didn't realize it, or he just didn't know, or he figured we wouldn't understand, so he didn't say. But when you think about it, jumping jacks, right? You're jumping,
Yeah.
scissoring your legs. So in the groin area, there are a whole bunch of lymph nodes that drain from the belly button down, right? You're actually elevating and dropping your arm, stimulating the lymph nodes under your arm for draining, because most women don't do any lifting of their arms, right? We wear everything tight. The
Right.
sides, the sides of the body is where the lymph drains from, even from the back. It has to go up under the arms. And if we're never moving, I had a client who used to get like a lump under her breast. And she called me one night and she was like, I don't understand. I have this lump under my breast. And I said to her, look, I know it's going to sound ridiculous, but do what I'm going to tell you to do. Flap your arms like a bird. Do it for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. And she texts me the next morning and she's like, I cannot believe it. It's gone. Like, it's just
Wow.
so simple. All it was some congestion in that area. But think about it. If we have constant congestion in this area, what's going to happen? It's
Yeah.
like mold on a wall, right?
Right.
Toxins live in our fat cells. Breasts are all fat cells. And we need to do some draining in those areas, right?
Yes, yes. Here's to jumping jacks. Yeah, I mean that's such a simple thing to think about. If you're doing that preventatively, just you have to move it anyway. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
great thing to incorporate. It's simple
yeah,
to
yeah.
remember.
We do
Yeah,
body brushing. I don't personally, I don't really like brushes because I think body brushes collect bacteria. So I have like silicone mitts, they're honeycomb mitts. But even just the body brushing, that's the whole point, right? It's to help move lymph. And there's a certain, movement that you can do. I sell them and I teach people how to do it. And
one,
you could do that before you get in the shower. When I'm in a hurry, that's what I like about the silicone too, is when I'm in a hurry, I can do it while I'm in the shower. And then I rinse it off and hang it up, and that thing will last 20 years.
right, right. Oh, I love that tip. That's a good one. Um, so I know that you also work with people and you had a lot of experience with people who've gone through various types of surgery and you offer post-surgery
Right.
therapy. That was one of the great testimonials too that we did. And so can you tell me a little bit about what does that really mean? I mean, is it lymph or is there more than to the post-surgery therapy?
It is lymphatic drainage, but it's a little bit more than that depending on the surgery, right? So what happens when you have surgery, trauma to the body, physical trauma to the body's response is surround the tissue and fluid so you can heal, right? So you sprain your ankle and what happens? Your ankle swells up. That's your lymphatic system. When they cut you for surgery, and I worked in a plastic surgery center for 14 years. So what were they doing? Liposuction, breast aug, mastectomy reconstruction, tummy tucks, BBLs, all of that. Lots of trauma to the body. The body doesn't know the difference between getting run over by a truck or having liposuction. The body
Mm,
just knows it's injured and it needs to protect you. And there's a lot of fluid for the trauma. So when
right.
I do post-surgery lymphatic work, yes, I'm trying to move the lymph to reduce inflammation. The layers, the longer you have that swelling, it kind of lays collagen layers and creates a little more scar tissue. And one of the things that happens when you have like liposuction is you'll get lumpy areas, especially if they do any kind of fat grafting. A lot of times there's lumpy areas. So that is not lymphatic work. That's a little bit different because I have to work a little bit deeper to help separate those layers. It's not, some people literally, I've seen like social media posts where they're doing post surgery lymphatic work with like fascia blasters and bamboo
Ooh,
things. That is not what I do. That's just more trauma to the body as far as I'm concerned
yeah.
in my own experience. And I worked with lots of clients. I worked with 6 or 7 plastic surgeons and I've worked on a lot of patients. So how I work is a little more gentle, but I'm still manipulating tissue to try to break up some of those adhesions so that those lumps and bumps don't become permanent scar tissue, because there's a time period where the tissue will eventually become stable scar tissue.
Mm,
So if they come to me enough times and early enough too, and doctors don't always recommend it early because they're afraid. They don't know who the therapists are. They don't want people hurting you. I literally had a client recently who had a C-section on Thursday and I saw her on Tuesday.
wow.
She had never had a lymphatic massage and she was a little nervous about it. And I was like, I won't go anywhere near your scar because that made her feel better. But when I started working her and she realized what it was like, she's like, you can work there. It actually feels so good. And all I was doing was a little bit of pressure,
Mm,
not anything. But later, as the scar is healing and she's getting better, I can work on that scar tissue because scar tissue grows scar tissue. So one side is the scar The other side of the healthy tissue is healthy tissue. It's kind of ischemic tissue, right? Because it's not getting 100% blood flow because one side of it is injured, right? So the idea is that we want to keep the scar minimal, the scar tissue minimal. We want it to do what it needs to do and, close you up and heal, but we also don't want it to grow and become more than it needs to be. So
Right.
that's the difference between any kind of post-surgery. I address adhesions and scar tissue, still doing lymph, and depending on, you know, how soon they come, because when the center, I could see people a day or two after surgery, how soon they come, and what their tolerance is. I have people that, 3 months later, I could barely touch them. They were in so much pain. And then I have people that a week later, they're running in with their heels coming from their job going, I only have a little bit of time.
Right. Right.
So,
Just
there's
different.
no box that people fit into. Every single
Mhm.
person's individual, and the end goal is the same. It's just how we're going to get there is
Yeah.
going to change based on each person.
I love this this focus on body work. I think it's so important, lots of times overlooked for how it impacts our overall health. Like you said, the nervous system and calming, and that's such a key healing, necessity if you want to heal anything. Um and also, I think that, I guess I'm trying to raise awareness on these things that I believe that not a lot of people might understand or know or really value or realize how important they are. And another one is like energy work or energy healing, energy support. So for those of that might listen to this later and not be familiar with energy work, could you talk us through a little bit about, what you do with that, how it's impactful for people?
Sure. So we are energy beings, energy bodies. We have a biofield around us. Some people call it an aura. There's a bunch of different things. It's a biofield. It's measurable, right? And through quantum entanglement, we actually transfer energy. And in the old days, they knew that. They still do. We call it different things, right? You put a prayer group together to pray for someone. What is that doing? It's sending them healing and love for whatever situation there is, whether they're, not well or, passing away, whatever it is, if they have, whatever it is. I have an energy field at a certain frequency. I have learned how to keep a very high frequency. Otherwise, every time I worked on someone,
The
after a year or
transfer.
two, I would be not well because we
Yeah.
transfer ions, right? Expression means we express ions and we transfer ions with people. Relationships, we relate ions, right?
Yeah.
So with energy healing, I'm basically channeling universal energy because there's energy all over the planet, right? And I'm keeping a high frequency. People that come in that don't feel well, that are sick, angry, whatever it is, the frequency is a little lower. If you ever look at a frequency cone, um, not well or depressed or sick or all those things, they're very low on
Low.
the frequency cone, which is contracted and heavy.
Mm.
Gratitude, love, authenticity, highest frequencies are at the top of the cone where it's very light and airy. So it's
Yes.
much easier to bring someone down than it is to elevate them up, right? You're in a
Mm.
room with a couple of people and someone walks in a crappy mood. Chances are they're going to change your state a lot faster than you'll be able to change theirs, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
dense and heavy. So in energy healing, I've learned how to hold a higher frequency, and two frequencies can't live in the same place at the same time. So there's no choice but elevation, right?
Mm.
But how much they elevate, in what plane they elevate, is it going to be physical? Is it just going to be emotional? But the thing is, even if emotionally or psychologically they start to feel better, their body will start healing.
Yes.
That's what energy work is. It's just, and you know what? I could put my hands on people and I hear it all the time. Oh my God, your hands are so hot. It's just a higher frequency and energy. And I've learned how to transfer it. There's training that goes with it. And then there's different energy modalities. But the truth is, we are energy beings and we give off energy. And it's just about learning how to harness that a little bit with intention. Intention drives energy. So
That's
what
so
you think about and what you focus on, you expand, you give energy to. So when
mm,
you're on my table and my thoughts are healing for you, I want your thoughts to be on healing for you too. I don't want you sitting on your phone or thinking about work. I want your thoughts and energy to be this on this the same thing that mine is on, so that we can exponentially expand this energy and healing for you.
love it. Love it. I have to read you something that what we were talking about earlier. Well, I was talking about with someone else, but it was my mom. She sent me a thing that says signs of a high vibration person. One, and to see what you think of this, Tracy. One, animals feel safe in your presence. Two, people stare at you in public. Three, random strangers love to come to you and talk and tell you their life stories. Four, you can feel the energy of a room shift when you walk in. And five, you irritate toxic people just by being your true and authentic self. Yeah.
You talked about this. Um, yeah, I actually had a woman come up to me who I didn't know and say to me, I don't know who you are or what you did, but you sat next to me and I just calmed down. She said, I had a day, and as soon as you sat down next to me, I just calmed down. I don't know why. You,
Wow.
and it's just my field, right? My field is peaceful and calm for the most part,
Yeah. You're only human, but you're working on yourself too to get to that
all
place,
the
right?
time,
You're all the time. Yeah.
all the
So
time.
that was my follow-up question is how do we try to raise our frequency to make it stronger so that when those people walk into the room that bring the vibe down, the frequency down, that we can stay resilient?
Well, illness and disease and dis-ease, any kind of dis-ease, right, happen because of toxic environment, either an external toxic environment or an internal toxic environment, right? So externally, things you can do are ground yourself, go outside and walk on the beach. We live in South Florida. Go walk on the
Get,
beach.
get out there.
You're not at the beach. If you have a home with grass outside, get outside in the grass. Drink clean water. Eat live food. Live plants have a very high frequency. And when you eat them, you're taking in life, right? They get sun. You're actually taking in sunlight. You're getting life from live plants.
Quality ingredients. Yeah.
So all of those things will elevate your frequency. Removing toxic relationships, doing things in your life that make you happy, not ruminating on things that are going on, because the more you talk about things, the bigger they get, right? You give it your energy, it expands, right?
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah.
Joe always says, our brain is simply a record of the past. And if you continually live in the past, you are just going to continue your past in the future. Nothing ever changes, right?
Right.
So I try to work on that in the morning. I try to get up and do a little meditation so that I can kind of clear myself and not just fall into doing the same mindless things that people do in the morning, right? And find a reason to laugh in my life and be happy, and that's what everyone should do.
Yeah.
And find joy in the things that can irritate you sometimes, because sometimes the daily grind irritates people, but it's our life and we do it every day. You cook dinner for your family, and for sometimes it's irritating, and
Yeah.
and that energy you're infusing into that food. So when you
Mm.
think about, I'm cooking for the people that I love and I want to give them healthy foods and I want to feel good when I'm doing it, and if you can find joy in it, because think about it, I get clients that come in and go, I didn't realize how great my life was, and now I have stage 4 cancer and I'm dying. And they're the ones that want to be able to just get in the kitchen and cook food for their families, right? So
Yes.
just finding joy in the simple things in life elevates your frequency. When I
Yeah.
start to feel like I'm not so happy, somebody has irritated me, I'm worried about business, I sing or
Mm.
I dance, because movement, right?
Yeah.
Energy creates,
Yes.
energy is what motion. What does Tony Robbins say? It's motion, and emotion is just motion and motion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. So
Yes.
small elevations in health, small elevations in mood, in outlook, make big elevations in life.
Mm, I like that. Yeah. And I'm glad you talked about music and you brought up music because I know one of the key features, there's many at Healing Moments, but one of them that I've experienced so far is the vibroacoustic sound bed. And that involves music
Yeah.
and meditation, I suppose. And I think it's kind of unique. I mean, I haven't heard of very many places that have that kind of a thing in a holistic wellness center, boutique, whatever, however you describe it. But so could you talk us a little bit about the benefits of the vibroacoustic
Sure.
sound bed?
Sure. You are listening to frequencies. The company I work with is called In Harmony, and they actually have musicians that create their music, a lot of their music. And these musicians work with, like Dr. Porter, who had brain tap. I think you did brain tap, right? They
Yes.
work with solfeggio frequencies in order to produce outcomes, right? So you're listening to music with frequencies in it for, you'll probably you can see it on social media all the time. 528 hertz, 428 hertz, different frequencies will be directed for different outcomes, right? So you're listening to frequencies in music, and the bed will pick up the frequency and start to vibrate at the same frequency. So a lot of us are very disconnected from the head up, right? Which
Hmm.
is part of the reason we get sick, right? So what happens is your brain's hearing it as music, your body's feeling it as vibration. The first thing that happens is creates this connection between your brain and your body. And then it actually bypasses the nervous system and takes you down into parasympathetic nervous system in a very short time, 15, 20 minutes. It takes you right
Hmm.
down into a low alpha brainwave state, and sometimes even more calming than that. I literally have had people leave the building. Like I've had people where I've had actually three people where, I'm very gentle when I want you to come out of it, right? Usually it's about 30 minutes. It could be an hour, it could be 20 minutes. It just depends on the situation. But I'll sit at the bottom of the bed and I'll touch your feet. And typically when I touch your feet and gently talk to you, it, wakes people up. I've had people that literally I'm rocking them and I'm like talking really loud. I don't like to take the headphones off of people because I don't want to shock people and I have your eyes covered. But I have literally had to do that. And
Wow.
people would be like, they don't even remember where they are. They think they're home in their bedroom and somebody's in their house. Like I don't like that to happen because it's shocking and it takes all the benefit away,
Yeah.
but
Wow. So when you say leave the building, you mean they're on another plane. They're
yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because
Wow.
it's just so calming and regulating. It helps to regulate. That's the biggest problem in the world today is we are just so dysregulated. Our nervous system's dysregulated, our physical body's dysregulated, our emotional body's dysregulated. So it creates this this coherence between the brain and the body. And
Mm.
it takes the nervous system right down, and it's just very calming. I put a weighted blanket on people so they feel like cocoons and safe, and I put
Yes.
a mask on their eyes, and it's really just get away from the world. It can be 20 minutes. That 20 minutes is so impactful. Like
Yes.
I sometimes will test, I'll check people. Let's see what your heart rate is. Let's see what your blood pressure is before and after. Tell me how you feel compared to when you first laid down. I have a
Right.
couple of kids that have ADHD, and it's, you know, they love it. They love
Mm.
it. And one of the things, especially when you work with kids, is it's experiential. Because I have other devices. I have PMF devices, energy, and that's not really experiential, not in an obvious way.
Right.
But this is very obviously experiential. So kids kind of like it. So what happens is they go, oh, that music is weird. And whoa, the bed's vibrating. And then
Mm.
they kind of just sit there and pay attention. And then before you know it, like they're gone. They're just calm and relaxed. And they come out of there. I had one the other day, and her mother came out and said, how do you feel? And she said, I just feel peace. She goes, well, what do you mean? She goes, I don't know. I just feel peace. Well, I was
Mm.
happy.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
Yeah.
cumulative. So the more
Mm.
you do it, the faster your nervous system recognizes, oh, I know this. And so
Right.
it's cumulative. So, yeah, you could do it once or twice. You can buy one and do it all the time. I mean, I have one, I've sold several. I've actually sold a couple to some treatment centers because it works
Mm.
really powerfully in treatment. But the more you come in and do it, the faster you fall in. I think
Right. It's like a muscle.
one of the people that you met had originally come to me with a lot of anxiety, and the anxiety was causing a lot of physical problems.
Right.
And I simply started doing sound bed and red light therapy with her. And it took a month or 6 weeks. And now people look at her and go, "Who are you? You're like this light being." She's a totally different person. She stands up straight. She has no more gut issues. She doesn't get headaches anymore.
Wonderful. Yeah. It's so important. I think that's a key word for the whole episode is the takeaway is, you may have heard of dysbiosis, that gut upset, but maybe you haven't heard of dysregulation. I think that should be the new key word for everyone in thinking about their health and staying healthy and their longevity, and is to address your dysregulation of your nervous system. And you might not really be completely aware of it. I mean, I'm relating to this personally and saying, well, can I operate in my daily life? Yes. Am I fine, quote unquote fine? Yes, but I know because I've looked into it, there are signs and signals that my body's giving me that my nervous system is dysregulated and it needs some TLC, which is why I will be at Healing Moments very soon again, Tracy. I for sure am doing that. I've said it before, but this time I got to address it. You got to take the time and you gotta get in those healing activities. So I always like to ask people before we wrap, is there anything that we missed? Is there anything new? Is there, what's going on with you now? Is there something that we could share before we close?
There's a lot. But I just really am focusing on coaching right now. A big part of the coaching for me right now is, the mainstream is you go to a doctor, you have a symptom, they give you a pill. A lot of the holistic practices have kind of followed the same model with supplements. You go to a practitioner, they take, you're deficient in vitamin D and this and that, they give you a supplement, right? I'm working more on cleansing. I'm
Mm,
working more on colon, gut, liver, parasite, heavy metal cleansing because before we do the testing, because when you can really start doing cleansing, your body starts to absorb nutrients and you may not be deficient anymore. We're the only country in the world that doesn't do parasite cleansing. It's ridiculous.
right.
So I'm doing a lot of work with coaching work with people that really want to start doing liver detoxes,
Oh,
and
good.
there's you can't just go to a certain kind of detox. Like you should never do a parasite cleanse before you do a colon cleanse because you want to make sure if you're going to mobilize anything that you're actually releasing it. But what I love about even the cleansing is it makes people a little nervous and stressed and uncomfortable sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come in and do a sound bed session, and we gear the sound bed session towards pain, stress, inflammation. And it just all works together, right? I have the infrared sauna, which helps with the detoxing, and the
Right.
red light therapy, and the ionic detox foot baths.
Right.
So
Yeah. And so,
I really been working on. I'm doing actually an additional for fun coaching certification on top of the PhD and doctorate I'm working on. But really, because just people are just because of the culture the last few years and some of the things that have happened, we really have to detox. And so I'm
absolutely.
really focusing this summer on really putting all of those systems in place.
That's great. And I'm glad you brought that up about coaching because you can work with anyone. It's important you do these things in the right order, just like you said about the cleansing,
Right.
to do the cleansing and then to use the therapies in the right order. So very important. So that's why it's so valuable to work with someone like Tracy, who's been through this before time and time again with people, and make sure that customization is important to Tracy. I know that firsthand and that she works one-on-one with people and their specific challenges. So, thank you so much for
And I
being my guest.
and I have my own personal experience, right? I had cancer. I'm not coming to this, like some Miss Know-it-all that's learning. Like I have had my own personal stories. So
Yes. Yes. I mean, yeah, feel free. I didn't, that was a question I was going to bring up and I didn't, but yeah,
yeah.
I mean, would you like to share a little bit about your journey in overcoming I mean, that's like a really jarring diagnosis.
Well, I had three doctors that kept sending me home telling me I was too healthy to have cancer, even after mammograms and ultrasounds and needle biopsy. And when I finally insisted that this palpable lump that I had needed to come out one way or another, they had to apologize to me. My
Wow.
doctor called 2 days later and said, we were all wrong. So then it was, why would someone like me develop cancer, which is a big part of why I work on root causes, because
Yes.
there was a strong emotional component just a few years before that I am sure had everything to do with why I developed a disease in this energy center.
Mm,
So I chose not to do some of the modalities, and a lot of what I have here has to do with how I healed. How I healed. I
mm,
did do a lumpectomy, and I even did some radiation because I just didn't know any better. I'm not certain that I would do it again personally. I have never have any judgment about what people choose to do, but what I do insist on is that you have to support the rest of the body, because allopathic medicine, they're just not trained to do that. They're trained to find the problem and delete the problem, but there's a whole body. I
right.
remember going for radiation and the doctor said to me, you have to stop taking Juice Plus. And I was like, why would I stop taking fruits and vegetables? And he
Right.
said, because we're trying to kill your cells and it protects your cells. I said, you're trying to kill my cells in a space that big. I have a huge body to take care of. So what I do, and my clients that are in treatment, and I have several that do the best, are also doing the other things, the things for the nervous system, the things for the detoxing, the mindset work, the meditation work they're incorporating, and their doctors are totally amazed at how well they're actually doing. One of my clients, they accelerated her surgery date like 6 months. They wanted her
Mm,
to do chemo first and then do surgery. And they didn't think they'd be doing to surgery till like November, and they've already done surgery with her.
wow.
So that's one of the things that you have to do what you believe will work, because what you believe is really what does the healing, right? But you
Mm.
also, you want to incorporate all of it. You want to take care of the body no matter what the illness is.
Absolutely. It's so funny, as we're speaking here, I know of two people that are dealing with breast cancer, and I'm maybe there's more. Well, obviously, there's more out there that are challenged with this all the time. But just knowing two people, as I'm sure you know, people right now going through this, and they I can only imagine how they feel. They feel lost. They feel desperate. They feel at the mercy of the authorities that tell you this is the path and this is the only path. And for you to have challenged the doctors telling you this is, the answer is no, you don't have cancer, Tracy. And you to continuously say, I know something's wrong with my body. I know that this is not right. I mean, that takes a lot of courage. And yeah, I would just hope to encourage anyone just by having this conversation to reach out to Tracy, since she's been through this, and I'm sure she can help you in one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just love on people. I always tell people I don't do the healing. I just love you to it, because
Yeah.
sometimes that's all we need.
So true. So many people don't even have anyone to listen to them. So that is such a value. I used to have a t-shirt that said, listen, it's enough. That's just
Yeah.
enough. Just listen to me. That's so important.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah. So, well, once again, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on an episode here. I really appreciate you, Tracy. And like I said before, I look forward to seeing you soon. And for everyone else listening, I'll just say stay healthy so you can stay happy. And I'll see you on the next one.